Have you ever started learning a language, felt excited, and then quickly watch your motivation disappear? You're not alone and it isn't your fault. With some easy changes, you can make motivation last long term and finally boost your language skills. So in this video, I'm going to show you a proven 3-part plan that makes staying engaged easy, automatic, and burnout proof. It's helped me learn Spanish and it can help you too. And if you want a summary of this video to put it into practice straight away, you can download a worksheet below or use the code on screen. So before we dive into the exact system that will boost your motivation long term, we need to clearly understand what motivation really is, because when you know what you're actually trying to get better at, everything else becomes easier. That means being more specific on what we're trying to improve. Let me share with you what I mean. I struggled with language learning for years, and the biggest obstacle was always consistency. Motivation felt like this unpredictable wave, sometimes strong, but often weak and rarely reliable. I'd get inspired, sit down with some content, or even worse, some dry textbook dialogues, and within minutes, my motivation would vanish. I'd promise myself I'd try again on a day where motivation magically returned. But here's the thing, I don't have that issue anymore. And these days, my problem isn't finding motivation, it's finding enough hours in the day to do all the Spanish that I want. So what changed? The truth is, motivation isn't some fixed personality trait that you're born with or without. It's actually a specific set of skills and abilities, skills that anyone can learn, practice, and strengthen. Once you stop seeing motivation as a mysterious feeling that you either have or you don't, and instead see it as something that you can actively build, you put yourself in control. You can consistently create motivation rather than waiting around hoping that it shows up. And that's exactly where this simple but powerful 3-step system comes in. By breaking motivation down into some clear, actionable steps, you'll learn exactly how to build and sustain motivation whenever you need it. So let's jump into step 1. Putting this into practice will help you start making real progress. And the more progress you make, the stronger your motivation becomes. Without a clear system, you're relying purely on willpower, and that always runs out eventually. So how exactly can you use this system to stay motivated long term? Well, one of my biggest mistakes when I was still finding my feet with language learning was that I had no idea where I was headed. I thought it was enough to just show up and study regularly, but that's kind of like driving around aimlessly without a destination. You're moving, sure, but where exactly are you going? If someone asked you right now, what's your current goal in language learning? You might say something vague like, I want to be conversational, or I want to get fluent, or even I want to reach the B2 level. These goals are all fine, but they're not very specific, and honestly, they're pretty boring. But to build lasting motivation, you need something more powerful, something emotional. Research shows that having a clear, emotionally charged vision of your ideal future self helps sustain motivation over the long term. So instead of vague goals, picture yourself vividly in the future using your language skills. Imagine a detailed scene. Maybe you're confidently ordering food in a bustling cafe whilst traveling, or laughing with new friends in a foreign city, or even just charming your new partner's parents. By clearly visualizing this future version of yourself, you can create a powerful emotional connection that pulls you forward. Take a few moments right now and really imagine it. What does your ideal future with your new language look and feel like? Once you have that vision, you can commit to it and start making real, meaningful progress. Now that you have a clear vision of where you're headed, it's time for the next step, one that I genuinely believe is essential. In fact, without this, honestly, I think you'll struggle to succeed in language learning. So let's look at what happens when you overlook this crucial factor. Here in the UK, we're not exactly famous for our language skills. Because many people around the world speak English, so many people here never really commit to learning another language. And whenever I chat with friends or people who say they're learning a language, I notice a common problem. They treat language learning as something separate, an extra task they occasionally do when they have time. It's like going to the gym once in a while and expecting results. But truly motivated learners see things differently. They don't see language learning as something extra when they get time. They see it as part of who they are. If you think about motivated runners, for example, they don't have to force themselves to run multiple times a week. Running is just part of their identity. They wake up, lace up their shoes, and they hit the road without needing to rely on so much willpower. Motivation in language learning works exactly the same way. It's deeply tied to your identity. When you shift your identity to become someone who loves languages, someone who's naturally curious around other cultures or excited about communicating, learning becomes more effortless. You no longer have to push yourself so much because taking daily action is simply part of who you are. But here's the important thing. This identity shift isn't just about changing your mindset overnight. It's a skill that you build over time. Every single day that you show up and practice your language, you're gathering evidence that you are truly someone who learns languages. Bit by bit, this new identity becomes stronger and more natural. So you don't need to force yourself to learn a new language. It's just who you are. But how can we stay motivated long term to actually improve our language skills? Well, that is exactly where the next stage of this system comes in. When I was getting started with language learning in the past, the thought of what I should be doing made it feel overwhelming. Tapping through what seemed like endless flashcards or even following a dry textbook series, I was always feeling like I wasn't making enough progress. And whatever I tried, it often felt so difficult that it crushed whatever little motivation I had left. I'd start thinking that maybe I'm just not cut out for this. But I realized something important. Language learning is mostly about consistently showing up and doing things that interest you. At first, it doesn't really matter exactly how you do it. Just so you do it regularly. That's why I love comprehensible input videos on YouTube. So these are videos specifically designed to be easy enough for beginners to understand by using pictures and gestures so that you naturally pick up new words and phrases without the stress. But they're a fantastic way to build up your habit and strengthen your identity as someone who learns languages. So whatever method appeals to you, just start small. Choose a daily habit that feels easy, enjoyable, and satisfying, like watching one short video in your target language each morning with a coffee. That simple habit will help you stay consistent. And consistency is what truly boosts motivation. And then once that feels easy and natural, you can gradually start to add slightly more challenging activities like talking to yourself out loud, for example, maybe writing some short journal entries or even just chatting with native speakers online. Whatever helps you maintain your daily practice. Because the more consistent you are and the better you get, the easier and more enjoyable language learning becomes. And that creates a language learning flywheel. Doing small things that are easy enough repeatedly will unlock the next level as things become easier. You'll feel more able to do what used to feel hard. And all of that will reinforce your identity as a language learner and finally get you to that vision that you created. So if you want a full step-by-step guide to building motivation and consistency, check out the link in the description or you can use the code on screen. And speaking of powerful habits, one habit that completely transformed my language skills and consistency was building a reading routine. So if you're ready to boost your language skills even further, you can check out this video here.